Hello everyone, today's video is going to be slightly different because I just found something I wanted to talk about, so I don't really have any notes to go by, so it might be a bit rambly at times and I will apologize for that. Now over the past year or so I've been fairly critical and complimentary to War Thunder, both in terms of their bug handling, their ship additions, their compression, decompression, and the recent very nice graphical update for Naval. But I haven't really compared one side of it to other games of its type, and recent news articles, or rather posts from players, have kind of shined a light on World of Warships monetization strategies that have really kind of framed it to where I'm kind of appreciative of how War Thunder actually does it. Now I'm not saying War Thunder hasn't had its faults in the past, and I'm not saying their current methods don't have faults, but it is for sure a lot better than what they're dealing with in World of Warships. Now, for those who aren't aware, I used to play World of Warships. I started in the beta and I played all the way until the carrier rework, to where I quit because I really didn't like what the devs were doing with that game. I had pretty much ground out all the lines. I bought way more premiums than I should have, pretty much most of the ones that were available at the time. I always had doubloons, always had premium time. I was part of the competitive scene in the clans, I took part in testing, I took part in the Corgi Fleet events, and I really had fun with that game up until the point I decided to quit. But nowadays, every so often, I'll get an advertisement, or I'll see a post, or I'll jump into a Discord with players that are still playing it, and take a look at the current state of the game, and really I can't recognize it, but the thing that stands out is the monetization schemes that they have gone to. Setting aside all these different currencies and materials and different ways to get ships that they're doing to try to kind of milk their player base's time and money out of all that, the thing that really caught my attention recently was the $120 premiums that they have started selling. This isn't a pack of premiums, this is an individual ship with some economic bonuses attached that are straight up $120 each. And there's no way to just buy the ship for a lower price, which I believe they used to do. I specifically remember buying Bear ships for just their base price. Now that's all fine and dandy, of course. You know, if people want to pay $120 for a ship and all the associated stuff, good for them. And War Thunder is really no different in that way because they like to sell pre-orders, which usually they stick to about $80 for a top tier pre-order. And those also come with economic bonuses, so you're paying probably $60 for a ship and some economic bonuses on top of that. The difference is Wargaming really likes to remove premium ships and never tell you when they're coming back for sale, if they're ever coming back to sale at all. Just since I was playing, there were multiple premium ships that just completely disappeared from the game, and if you didn't get them the first time they were out, you never got them again, just because Wargaming doesn't really nerf them, it doesn't really move them around in their tiers, it just takes them away from sale. Some of the examples were like the Imperator Nikolai IV, Julio Cesare, Belfast, I think there were a couple other ones. Graf Zeppelin was a good one, that's one I remember, and I think Mikhail Kutuzov was another one that got removed, along with the Kamikazes. But these are all ships that Wargaming just said, nah, we're not going to sell anymore. If you got them, sweet. If not, too bad. Which was fine until they started selling crates. And then you started to see the return of these ships in a crate as a prize that you could gamble for, that you had to spend real money for. Which brings me back to these $120 premium ships that Wargaming just released. These are 3 ships, 2 of them being non-historical napkin drawings from a bar, and one being a historical ship, that are $120 first time ever coming out, and there's no guarantee that they're going to stay in the game. But you can already gamble for them in crates that came out with them, so you could easily gamble $120 to get them from these crates, and maybe not even get them at all. And this might be your only time to get them without gambling from the store. So it creates this kind of predatory situation where you kind of have to spend that $120 if you do want that one historical ship or one of the possibly broken napkin drawing ships. Or you might just miss out and be forced to gamble on them in future crates, which, to be fair, seems to be every other month at this point, as Wargaming seems to be intent on milking every last penny out of that player base, at least from an outside perspective. And this is where I kinda have to hand it to Gaijin, and maybe I'm being a little bit naive on this and people are welcome to correct me, but with Gaijin's current practice, they don't seem to just release and completely remove broken premiums. Yes, they still release premiums that are broken and under-tiered, but Gaijin will actually take the approach of nerfing these vehicles, even if it takes them a bit of time, rather than straight out removing them. Maybe removing them from sale temporarily, but saying that they will be back. They don't just completely remove them from sale, never coming back, never being added to the game, and, well, 3 years down the line, hey, they're out in this crate that you can gamble for if you just want to throw your wallet at the screen. They don't seem to do that, at least in my opinion. Yes, there are vehicles that are unobtainable, there's some that do come back as events where you can actually earn them, and then you also have the event vehicles where you can earn them once, maybe come back in another battle pass or something like that, but then you can also buy them from other players on the Gaijin marketplace for whatever those other players are selling them for, which, yes, does seem like it's a workaround for that crate system where you're still throwing tons of money at the screen, and yes, some of them are ridiculously high in price, but these do come back in battle passes and crates. The difference with these crates is they are for Silver Lions, which is, I forget what the World of Warships equivalent of that is, it's silver I believe, might be wrong there. But it's something that you just earn through your battle, so if you have a little bit extra, you can throw it at these crates and possibly get a very high priced premium out of this. Well, not premium, event vehicle, my apologies there. So it's not as predatory because you're not just throwing your wallet at it. Yes, you can buy Silver Lions with Golden Lions, which is the premium currency, but you're not just doing it outright for only that paid currency. You can earn that in the game. You can just throw extra at it if you want to. You don't have to spend money to actually buy these crates, and they are actually for a decently reasonable price, in my opinion, for being a fairly free crate. So I really don't think that Gaijin is that predatory, at least comparative to the other ship game that's out there that everybody seems to compare it to. I mean, just looking at them both, if you just want to take it at the basic, they both sell fairly high priced premiums at fairly high tiers. Gaijin doesn't really do it at maximum battle rating, but they will shift that maximum battle rating up in order to sell premiums at that slightly lower battle rating from what I can tell. Whereas I think Wargaming is selling top tier premiums at this point, I'm not entirely sure. I really don't look at that game much because it kinda isn't what I recognize anymore. And at a base level, both games have crates and they have vehicles that you can't really get without either working through those crates or spending an absurd amount of money on, at least in some cases. Some of them really aren't that much. But the difference is, when you look at Gaijin's side of it versus the Wargaming side of it, these crates and the event vehicles that are attached to them aren't exclusive. They're not removed. They're not unobtainable, and suddenly they're back for a currency that you have to throw your wallet at the game in order to buy. You can actually earn these crates just by playing the game, and you know those event vehicles are going to come back around, so you can always try again. Even with Gaijin's more rare premiums that you do have to spend money on, you can kind of guess when they're going to come back around because it's launch dates, first flight dates, military history dates, usual events like that where they're going to re-release these premiums, and over time they actually discount them as their battle rating is considered so much lower than top tier, and it's just an older vehicle overall. It honestly wouldn't surprise me if Wargaming is still selling Torpedoes for $60, I think was what it was when it released. I'm not entirely sure, but it really wouldn't surprise me if they haven't discounted it in all this time. Maybe they've even removed it and stuck it in a crate, I'm honestly not sure. But it's one of those times where I have to sit back and, while there is a lot of things I can criticize War Thunder for and Gaijin themselves, I do have to kind of appreciate their monetization, at least currently, and the fact that they aren't completely predatory with it to where they're throwing crates at you that you have to buy with real money that have very hard to obtain premiums in them that you can basically never get again unless you just gamble away until you eventually earn it. But that is kind of my rant for the day. Sorry that it was kind of rambly and all over the place if it was, but it's just something that caught my interest and I wanted to talk about. Good luck out there, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.